I tore myself down. I was like, am I going to be able to stay in business?
Was absolutely destroyed.
To just hear that, I don't know how to process that. You feel irrelevant, but that's where you have to add value. It's more important who you're working for than your own ego, and feeling personal satisfaction is absolutely pointless if you have no one that you're satisfying.
Would you recommend someone who's in school now to go to college?
It depends on what you want to be. I made a mistake and I went to college for nursing. I did appreciate that one of the places where I did learn about the basics of psychology is in college. It was probably one of my favorite classes. I learned critical thinking classes in college. So there is a lot that I did absorb. It depends on who you are. I think it's more important to be self-educated. So I've spent more money getting self-educated than I did in college. Self-educated, what books do you read? What time do you spend working on yourself? How often do you get alone with your thoughts? That's one thing that we don't do in a busy world, is sit down alone with our own heads and just think about the different. Your brain works at such a high speed. If you just slow down and listen to your own brain, there's so much information you absorb that you never have the chance to process. So I think for me, that's a big thing, giving myself the chance to process what I've absorbed throughout the years and throughout the day.
My favorite saying came from Russia is, high degree education will not hurt a janitor. So even if you're a janitor, but you're educated, it's not gonna hurt. And I spent 5 years in college after school, and I'm not doing, that. I was supposed to be a teacher, but I agree with you. Education, if you go to college, you will learn how to learn.
Exactly.
When you learn how to learn in college, and college gives it to you, if you drop out of high school, and you never learn how to learn, you're not gonna learn even on YouTube, even on, you'll be on the same, Facebooks and social media, because I read a lot every day, but I don't read what other people read. I don't read, I read articles these days, data, studies, case studies and stuff like that, but I learn how to get information, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew how to study, but I learned it at college. And a lot of people say, well, I don't really need it, so they don't go to college. And I see it a lot in our industry. How many roofers do you know who just refuse
to learn
anything? I don't care if it's how to install shingles or how to pass a test. They just know it all. And I feel like the problem is because they didn't go to college for anything. So they never study, and now they don't know how to study. And it's all entertaining and hard work. It's Netflix and getting paid an hourly job.
Yeah. I think, okay, so I dropped out of high school. I did drop out because of the circumstances in my life, but it wasn't because I didn't want to study. So for those of you who are dropouts and have your GEDs, I can understand where you're coming from. High school's not necessarily the best place for all of us mentally, or maybe just at that time in our life. The reason why I decided to, the same week I dropped out of high school, the next week I got my high school diploma. So it was not like I just was like, okay, just putting it off. And then I went to college the next year. I think where I learned how to learn actually started in Bible class when I was in 5, 6 years old. My mom would force me to read the Bible. I'm not as religious as I was, but I'm not religious at all actually anymore. But I think that's where I learned. My mom made me sit down with the Bible, and she made me study every single day. I had to read.
Would you agree the Bible is still #1 book in the world to read?
No.
No? What would be #1 book then?
God. Okay, actually, okay. If we're gonna talk about a specific part of the Bible,
like influence on any on humankind and on a person.
Yes, I would definitely say the book of Proverbs is my favorite book.
Which is still a Bible.
Yes, it is the Bible. Yeah, you're right. So Proverbs is the best book, in the Bible itself.
Yes.
The best chapters and the best advice. There's a lot of things that you can learn from the Bible as just being a person. So it is true, and it's not fair of me to say no, because that is part of what made me who I am today. Is learning to have a gentle heart with others, which is it's not common. anymore. But it's life, you know, it's a gift to have that, to be able to just have actually good feelings toward just humans in general.
I would add that Proverbs is the book of books. If you take any how-to motivational book, any like modern book of just, it's all based on Proverbs.
It is.
Like any, like I mean, all the books.
All of Tony Robbins' book are
Yes,
based off Proverbs.
It's Proverbs, 100%. So if you want a motivational book, just read Proverbs every day. By the way, it's 31 chapters. You can read one chapter of Proverbs per day, and you'll be smart.
And it's a lot of good life advice.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So, Bible is still number one.
It is. You know, I think the reason why I say no so quick is because I had such bad experiences in church that, you know, sometimes like, no. But then I do have to get back down to my roots a lot, and I have to be like, stop.
Sure.
Embrace where you came from, because that is where I came from. I think it happens to a lot of people who have bad experiences in church. They forget, like me, myself included, I'm not an exception. What happens, like what was it that molded you to be who you are today? It's the good and the bad.
And for the record, I'm a dropout of college too, because I came to the United States, so I had 3 years to go, and I made a decision, you know what, I'm gonna drop out, I'm gonna go explore the world, go to this crazy country, and that's why I never graduated university, because I came here. So we all have reasons. I love your story. My next question is, you are one of the most successful women in our industry. You're very young. I'll say it, you're 24. Very impressive. How does someone achieve as much as you did by the age of 24?
That's very humbling to me, because I do not see myself like that. I guess I'm very hard on myself, and I have such a high standard that, you know, even to just hear that, I don't know how to process that. I don't even think that I've reached, you know, 10% of success. I'm trying.
You're just getting started.
Yes, I'm just getting started. And, you know, I think for someone who does see someone like me and they're like, oh, this person's doing well, just be persistent and work hard. You never know how far you're gonna go. I always have had that drive that I'm gonna go far in life. So I always look at myself where I'm at today, and I never feel like I'm doing enough. And I'm always very critical of myself. Now, people say that that's bad, you know, oh, love yourself. It's good to be critical of yourself. People are not gonna tell you what you wanna hear, you know, and you have to be able to tell yourself what you don't wanna hear. The uncomfortable truth will make you better. When people give me negative feedback, to me it's not negative feedback. Thank you for calling me out on a way to make myself better. So if, like the other day, a client of mine called me out and told me, like, this is not what I wanted, and it wasn't what I'd expected, I said, you know what, thank you for the opportunity to let me make it right. And I gave them more than they expected, more than they wanted, and they gave me a great review from it, and just want to share their experience with other people who are interested in working with me.
Can you give one advice to roofers? Like, we have a lot of roofers in my community and your community. Maybe someone who works for a roofing company right now. I see a lot of guys, people trying to save money. People ask me all the time, Dmitry, how much do you need? When do you know you're ready? You go on your own. Give advice to someone who wants to go on their own, work for someone right now, and just can't make that switch.
I think it's one of the most important switches you're ever going to have to make. Stop second guessing yourself and get started. The only way to get ahead is to get started, and the only way to move forward is to take the step. So if you look at life, if you expect yourself to be perfect from the beginning, you're never going to give yourself the opportunity to make progress. So I don't focus on being perfect. I just focus on making progress forward every day and challenging myself. So stop being scared, take the challenge and go for it, because you have nothing to lose. There's no one who's standing in the way between you and what you want except yourself and your own negative self-talk. That's really all that it is, and that's a Tony Robbins quote.
When you were working in roofing for 5 years and now you work for yourself, obviously you work with a lot of roofers. The industry statistics says that about 80% of roofing companies go out of business in 5 years. How many companies do you know that already went out of business, and what took them out of business? What have you observed? Do you have clients that were your clients and they're no longer in business? What happened to them? And what is the reason that you see the roofing companies are going out of business, file bankruptcies, getting out?
I would say that for those who are going out of business, the number one thing that happens is their ego gets in the way of their success. You know, some people reach a little bit of success and now they're like, oh, rah, 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 I'm the best. Oh, let me go spend a bunch of money. And I don't believe in that mentality. You have to continue to work hard, keep your head down, and move forward more, because if you don't have a stable foundation, your empire is going to topple. And that's what their main problem is. They didn't take the time to build their foundation and to build their process. And not only that, the people that worked for them didn't believe in them. If your employees and your team doesn't believe in you, you might as well just go ahead, fire them all, and find a new team. And take that time to build your foundation before you get started, because everything you build after that can go to waste.
So do you see a lot of roofers go out of business? Like, what's the percentage? How many?
Yeah.
Did you actually hear the stories? Maybe you follow up someone and they're
Yeah.
like, nope, close the shop, no
Yeah.
longer in business.
Yes, unfortunately, it's been for several different reasons. It was the people who are so focused on just like what they're doing, their day-to-day life of just bringing money in, that they don't stop to think about working on their business. And then most of the ones who did drop off were people who had just bad reputations, bad customer service, because it doesn't matter how hard you work if you don't care about the people you're working for. So if you're just going to work hard for yourself, you might as well quit as well, because it's more important who you're working for than your own ego, and feeling personal satisfaction is absolutely pointless if you have no one that you're satisfying. You're not making anyone happy. Just what is your value to the marketplace? They didn't have, the value wasn't there. Their product wasn't there and their skills weren't there. But to anyone who has gone out of business, I'm very critical, but I always love to give good advice, same way I do to myself. If you've gone out of business, it's not too late for you to fix your reputation and make things right. But you have to make that choice, and you have to build a foundation this time and learn from your mistakes. There's always the opportunity to come back from a failure. You just have to be able to let go of your ego and analyze your own moves, and it's like a game of chess. What's your next step? Think a little bit more.
Give advice to a roofing business owner or any business owner who's going through hard times, depression. How do you deal with them? Every once in a while I have a call with the students, and they have all the tools in front of them. They have all the data, but they just can't put things together. They're depressed. With the COVID-19, after Floyd death, like a lot of guys in the industry, they were so down that I would call them like, man, what's going on? Like, pull yourself together. How do you deal with those guys? What advice you give them?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give them myself as an example. When the whole COVID-19 thing started, I had just gotten my office and I had hired 2 full-time employees, and I was scared. I was really scared. And for about 3 weeks, I was in the scarcity mentality. I was thinking, there's not enough money, people don't want to buy from me, everyone's just trying to survive. And instead, what I did, and I tore myself down. I was like, am I going to be able to stay in business? From that mentality, I was able to switch over to now having 7 employees and growing my office and having 3 times the amount of clients in 2 months during coronavirus, because I did one thing. I took massive action. And that's what having someone to look forward to. Find people who, when you're feeling bad, you can listen to them and pick yourself back up. For me, it's always going to be Tony Robbins. If I'm having a bad day, I listened to one of his videos in the height of all of that, and I started taking massive action. What happens is you bring that energy, you bring that momentum, and if you're taking action and you're releasing really a lot of energy into the world, you're going to move forward even if it's an inch. There's no way that you can take massive action and stay where you're at today. You're going to move forward. So don't stay stagnant, move forward.
When everything started, I noticed for about first 2-3 weeks, everybody have a dent, every single company. But then 3 weeks later, I would say 90% of roofing companies in my network, they all started having better years, better data from the year before. So everybody I talk to on the rise, there's about 10-15% of companies that are still struggling. But what I see is their mentality. It's not the market. Like, market does not support numbers going down. If you talk to manufacturers, if you talk to their competition, everybody's up. So you just have to, focus. And what we did at Roofing Insight, so our classes all were canceled. So our business model essentially was doing classes.
Destroyed, yeah.
Was absolutely destroyed. So we could make some money doing the classes, and we looked what we could do, and that's how Roofing Insights Directory was born. I'm like, we have more time in our hands. We have all these resources, all these employees. Let's use it. And we announced 6 months ahead directory. We were supposed to do it, towards the end of the year. And we're like, you know what? We can't do classes. So we started, and now we have almost 200 companies in the directory. Absolutely blown away with the results. Thank you guys for the support. But I agree with you. You think outside the box, you put energy, you work on something, you create a better product, you will move forward.
Exactly. The amount of action that I took for you to create the Roofing Insights Directory out of nothing is a perfect example of just getting started and actually placing energy where you want to be at instead of where you are right now. And if you're talking to homeowners and they are scared and they're coming from a place of scarcity, then focus on helping build confidence into that relationship. You're going to have people who are going to buy right now, and some people are going to be apprehensive. But what you shouldn't do is let go of those opportunities of connection and building that relationship. If every sale is not meant to be today, there's some that you're going to be building towards the future and putting into your pipeline, whether it's a month down the road, 3 months, 9 months, 12. People don't know how to have, patience. And patience definitely pays off, especially during times like this.
What are some of the best events you attended last year? Conferences, I see you travel a lot. What events would you recommend to go next year? I know you've been at Cardone's 10X. I know you're going to expos. Name maybe top 3-4 events that must attend for anybody in the roofing industry.
So industry-specific events, obviously, I'm biased.
It doesn't have to be industry-specific. It can be any event.
So I'll tell you a little bit of my favorite events. So the reason why I enjoyed the roofing process conference with you guys is because it was focused on community, on growth, and feedback and collaboration. Those are the things that I look forward to when I'm going to go someplace. I also really did enjoy going to the IRE. The IRE is one of the events that every year opens my mind up a little bit more because I go into the industry and I see the potential. It's always something
new products, new vendors.
Everybody's moving ahead. The manufacturers are getting bigger. The vendors are getting bigger, which means our industry is moving forward. So I want to be a part of that. And it's been one of those events that's changed my life. Every year that I go, I get a bigger vision and I'm like, these companies are multi-million, billion-dollar companies. And, I'm just a drop in the bucket. I'm just trying to make my...
Another feeling.
Yeah, you feel irrelevant, but that's where you have to add value.
It's like an ocean and you're just little fish swimming. Yeah. But there's so many roofers, so many companies, new players,
yes,
trends. Wow.
Yes. And then I also try to go to out of the industry events because it allows me to think beyond what I'm doing today and what are people in my market doing. I like to look at what are, the best marketing companies doing, what are the best business and technology companies doing. I'm really big into data and analytics management, so I did go to the 10X Business Bootcamp because that was all it was about. It was a three-day event where you just go in and talk about your process, your data, your marketing, and those are my driving forces. I think the best way to look at your business health is look at your data.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Give it a like if you did, subscribe to the channel if you're new to us, and I'll see you guys in the next video.